It is the ultimate ghost story of geopolitics, a shadow creeping across the map. The idea that beneath the chaotic surface of wars, pandemics, and economic crashes, there is a single, steady hand on the tiller. A secret cabal working to dissolve your borders, erase your currency, and consolidate the entire planet under one flag, one law, and one absolute ruler. They call it the New World Order. Some say it's a secular tyranny. Others, like those reading the Book of Revelation, see it as the literal kingdom of the beast rising from the sea. You have felt it, haven't you? That sinking suspicion that the news isn't telling you the whole story. That the decisions shifting the ground beneath your feet, the inflation eating your savings, the regulations changing your city, aren't random. They feel coordinated. And if you spend enough time connecting the dots online, the picture looks terrifyingly clear. But here is the problem with connecting dots. Sometimes you draw a picture that isn't there. Sometimes the monster in the closet is just a pile of clothes. So today, we aren't just debunking a theory. We are going to autopsy a modern myth. We are going to trace the bloodlines of this idea from the mud of World War I to the secret meeting rooms of the Swiss Alps, and find out if we are actually witnessing the birth of a global dictatorship, or something far more complex, and perhaps far more boring. To understand how a phrase became a weapon, we have to go back to a world on fire. 1918. The trenches of Europe are filled with mustard gas and millions of dead bodies. The old world order of kings and empires had just committed suicide on a continental scale. Out of this carnage steps US President Woodrow Wilson. He looks at the ashes of Europe and proposes a radical idea: a new world order. Now stop. When Wilson said those words, he wasn't talking about a secret police force or microchipping the population. He was talking about diplomacy. He was desperate to build a system, the League of Nations, that would stop humanity from destroying itself again. It was a plea for collective security. For decades, that's all the phrase meant: a shift from war to cooperation. But language is a living thing, and it mutates. Fast forward to the Cold War. You have the John Birch Society in the 1950s, screaming that international cooperation was just a Trojan horse for communism. They looked at the UN and didn't see diplomats. They saw the vanguard of a Soviet takeover. Then came the match that lit the fuse. September 11th, 1990. George H.W. Bush stands before Congress. The Soviet Union is collapsing. The Berlin Wall is dust. And Bush says the words, "A new world order." To a diplomat, he was saying, "Hey, maybe we can finally stop threatening to nuke each other." But to a conspiracy theorist, this was a confession. It was the caught-on-tape moment. They stripped the context, ignored the history, and held that soundbite up as proof that the global takeover had officially begun. It was a masterclass in reinterpretation, taking a boring diplomatic term and injecting it with high-octane nightmare fuel. But a plot needs more than a catchphrase. It needs a villain. And if you dig into the lore of the one-world government, all roads lead to one place: Bavaria, 1776. The Illuminati. Pop culture has turned the Illuminati into an omnipotent, immortal organization that controls Jay-Z, the Super Bowl, and the price of oil. The reality is almost disappointingly scrappy. Adam Weishaupt wasn't a wizard. He was a frustrated law professor. He lived in a time where the church controlled what you could read, think, and say. He founded the Order of the Illuminati not to enslave the world, but to free it from religious dogma. It was a book club for radicals. And here is the part the theories leave out. They failed. Badly. By 1785, the Bavarian government cracked down. They raided the homes of members, seized their papers, and published their secret correspondence. The group was shattered. They didn't go underground. They went extinct. But the idea of them, the specter of a secret group manipulating society, was too juicy to let die. Counter-revolutionaries, terrified by the chaos of the French Revolution, needed someone to blame, so they pointed to the ghost of the Illuminati. They invented a legend that has outlived the actual group by 2.5 centuries. But you might say, okay, the Illuminati are gone, but what about the guys meeting in private right now? You are talking about Bilderberg. Every year, about 130 of the world's most powerful people, CEOs, prime ministers, bankers meet in a luxury hotel. No press, no minutes, no Twitter. Armed guards patrol the perimeter. It looks exactly like the scene where the villains decide which country to bankrupt next. They operate under the Chatham House rule. It means you can use the information you hear, but you can't reveal who said it. To the outsider, this screams cover-up. To the insider, it's the only way to have a real conversation. Think about it. If a prime minister speaks publicly, they have to stick to the script. But in a private room, off the record, they can actually admit what they don't know. Does this mean they are plotting a one-world government? Denny Healy, a founder of the group, put it bluntly. To say we were striving for a one-world government is exaggerated, but not wholly unfair. Wait, did he just admit it? Keep listening. He explained that they wanted a one-world community, a place where wars were solved by talking, not bombing. There is a massive canyon between rich people networking to protect their interests and a satanic plot to enslave humanity. These groups have influence, absolutely. They shape policy, but they cannot pass laws. They cannot arrest you. They are powerful, but they are not the government. For the government part of the conspiracy, we have to look at the scapegoat, the United Nations. In the lore, the UN is the Death Star. It's the engine that will crush national sovereignty. Theorists point to Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. They read a document about reducing poverty and clean energy, and they decode it as a blueprint for eco-fascism. They see 15-minute cities, urban planning designed to make sure you can walk to a grocery store, and scream that it's a plan to lock you in your neighborhood forever. But have you ever actually watched a UN proceeding? It isn't a sleek, efficient machine of domination. It is a bureaucratic nightmare. It is endless meetings about wording. It is headsets that don't work. The UN is an organization of sovereign states, not above them. Here is the hard truth about the UN's power. The Security Council can barely agree on what to order for lunch, let alone how to run the planet. Any one of the 5 permanent members, Russia, China, the US, UK, France, can veto anything. That veto is a kill switch for global tyranny. If the UN tried to seize your property or dissolve your borders, one veto stops the whole machine. The Blue Helmets aren't a global army. They are borrowed soldiers who can be kicked out by the host country at any moment. So if the evidence is this weak, if the Illuminati is dead and the UN is powerless, and the New World Order is just a recycled speech, why won't this theory die? Why does it feel so true? Because the alternative is terrifying. We are living through a time of extreme chaos, pandemics, financial meltdowns, cultural shifts that happen overnight. The human brain hates chaos. We evolved to find patterns in the grass to avoid predators. When we look at a chaotic world, our brains scream for a pattern. Believing in a one-world government is, strangely, comforting. It suggests that someone is in charge. Sure, they are evil, but at least there is a plan. At least there is a hand on the wheel. The idea that no one is in charge, that the world is just a collision of 8 billion people all acting in their own self-interest, with no script and no director, that is the truly scary thought. This theory also gives us a clear enemy. It's not complex economic factors destroying your savings. It's them. The globalists, the elites. It simplifies a messy world into a battle of good versus evil. And yes, for some, it aligns perfectly with ancient prophecies of a beast system, merging political anxiety with spiritual warfare. But we have to look at the reality. The one-world government isn't a secret plan. It's a projection of our own fears. Does that mean we should blindly trust authority? Absolutely not. Power corrupts. We should scrutinize the Bilderberg meetings. We should question the influence of global corporations. We should demand transparency from the UN. But there is a difference between skepticism and fantasy. The world is not being steered by a shadowy council in a dark room. It is being steered by conflicting interests, messy compromises, and open incompetence. And realizing that the future isn't written by a secret villain, but is actually unwritten and volatile, is far more empowering. It means the story isn't over. It means we aren't just victims of a script. This is a conversation that goes deep, and everyone has a different piece of the puzzle. Do you think we missed a smoking gun? Is there a piece of evidence that convinces you a global centralization is inevitable? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to keep peeling back the layers of these modern myths with us, hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started.